Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're the show that takes that huge stack of sources, all the articles, the research, the policy papers, and really boils them down to the essential knowledge you need to be truly well-informed.
Exactly. And we know that if you are a learner who's focused on complex global affairs, a topic like U.S.-Taiwan relations is, well, it's constantly in your newsfeed.
All the time.
Yeah.
But the underlying mechanics, the long-term trends and the specific policies that actually drive the headlines, they often get lost in all the noise and sensationalism.
And that confusion is precisely what we are tackling today. Our mission is to take a deep dive into why the United States is visibly and materially increasing its support for Taiwan in 2025.
We are deliberately moving past the day-to-day political drama.
Right. We want to focus on the long-term structural drivers, things like geography, technology, the architecture of policy, and of course, global economics.
Our goal here is precision. We want to custom tailor this for you, the well-informed learner, to give you the specific context and the sort of professional vocabulary you need to analyze official statements.
And to understand the mechanics of continuity and change in this region. Because this increased visibility of support, it's fundamentally driven by these interconnected global systems.
Things like trade predictability, our dependence on technology, and just a general desire for regional stability.
Which makes it an essential topic for anyone involved in economic or geopolitical planning. And crucially, we are maintaining a completely neutral analysis here.
Yes, this is all about explaining policy and observed trends.
We're just unpacking the systems that compel international attention toward East Asia, providing you with factual context, not political opinion.
Okay, let's unpack this. Before we get into the really heavy details, I think we have to establish the rules of engagement for diplomatic language.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the words used here are so precise, so intentional, and if you misunderstand them, it can completely change how you interpret a news report. We hear three terms all the time: support, alliance, and recognition.
And they are absolutely not interchangeable. That distinction is, it's foundational to any professional analysis.
So let's start with support. What does that actually mean in an official context?
Support, as it's used in U.S. statements about Taiwan, is functional and it's targeted. It means cooperation in very specific, defined areas.
Like?
Things like economic investment, tech R&D, educational exchanges, and the provision of defense articles necessary for Taiwan's self-defense. It's cooperation that maximizes the benefit while really minimizing the formal legal commitment.
And that's totally different from alliance, right?
Completely different. An alliance is a formal, structured legal partnership. It's often ratified by a treaty, and it carries mutual defense obligations under very specific stated conditions. It's a very, very high legal and political bar.
Okay, so that leaves recognition.
Which is the official diplomatic brass ring, you could say. It's the legal official establishment of diplomatic relationships between sovereign governments. So the U.S. officially recognizes the government in Beijing.
But at the same time, it maintains this robust, active, and meaningful support relationship with Taiwan. So that's the big question. If the U.S. doesn't formally recognize the government in Taipei, how is all of this intensive support channeled and, managed on a day-to-day basis?
Well, that's where the policy architecture starts to show its ingenuity. The main conduit for this whole unofficial relationship is the American Institute in Taiwan, or AIT.
Which functions like an embassy, but it's not one.
It functions essentially as an embassy, right?
Yeah.
But its staff operates under non-diplomatic titles. This allows for incredibly deep operational engagement, from economic negotiations to security dialogue, without formally violating the diplomatic recognition of Beijing.
So it's this linguistic and structural precision that is the key.
It's the whole key. It's how countries can work incredibly closely while still respecting these broader international arrangements.
That structure supporting active cooperation while sticking to a specific diplomatic framework. That's the stage we're setting for this deep dive.
Precisely.
Okay, so to really grasp the magnitude of U.S. interest, we have to start, maybe surprisingly, not with technology or policy, but with the quiet power of geography.
Yes. Taiwan sits in a truly unique geostrategic location in East Asia. It borders the East China Sea to the north and the South China Sea to the south.
Its location is just. It's a fact on the ground. You can't change it.
It's non-negotiable. It is physically positioned near major regional players, China, Japan, South Korea, the Philippines. But, and this is critical, it straddles some of the world's most active maritime crossroads.
This isn't just a place on a map.
Not at all. It's a critical nexus that controls movement and communication.
And those maritime crossroads, those are the vital trade routes we just mentioned. I mean,
Right.
you're talking about massive traffic flow here.
Massive. Some estimates suggest that well over half of the world's container ship traffic and a huge portion of global liquefied natural gas, or LNG, shipments pass through the waters around Taiwan.
Specifically, the Taiwan Strait and the Bashi Channel.
That's right, which makes the area a significant geostrategic choke point. The stability of these shipping lanes is not just a regional concern.
It's the physical artery of global commerce.
It is. When ships are carrying products, whether it's raw materials from one continent, finished electronics from another, or energy resources, they rely on unimpeded access through these routes between Asia, Europe, and North America.
What's so fascinating here is how directly this physical location ties into the vulnerability of the global supply chain. That's a term we hear all the time.
We do, but for our purposes, we really need to focus on that vulnerability aspect.
Right.
Absolutely. The supply chain is that long process, but the critical point here is that Taiwan isn't just a node in the chain. For advanced technology, it is the master node.
So what happens if stability is compromised around those shipping lanes?
The immediate effect is increased shipping insurance costs, rerouted vessels, and, most damagingly, massive logistical delays for pretty much any product manufactured in East Asia.
And the relevance here becomes really sharp.
Yeah.
The stability of the waters around Taiwan directly impacts manufacturing floors and consumer prices across the entire planet.
Exactly. If Taiwan faces uncertainty, it introduces severe risk into the financial planning of every company that relies on just-in-time delivery or high-tech components.
This is why economic planners, treasury officials, logistics experts worldwide, they pay closer attention than maybe even military planners do sometimes.
That's the real definition of regional stability in this context. It means ensuring countries in the area manage disagreements peacefully, specifically to prevent these sudden disruptions that harm trade and daily life on a global scale.
So the stability of the Taiwan Strait is crucial.
Because calm conditions guarantee safe, predictable shipping and continuous, low-cost economic activity.
So the immediate takeaway for you, the learner, and the core insight of this section is that this intense international focus on Taiwan and the increasing U.S. support, it's really a long-term strategic calculation.
It is. It's about protecting vast, shared economic interests and maintaining predictability over these critical geographic choke points.
It reflects a profound economic necessity, not just some temporary political maneuvering.
Think of it this way. Taiwan is the geographic gatekeeper for half the world's commerce. The U.S. strategy is to ensure that gate stays open and reliable 24/7.
Okay, so to understand the nature of U.S. support in 2025, we can't treat it as an isolated event. We have to take the long view.
Right. We have to examine the deliberate policy architecture that's guided this relationship since the late 1970s.
Because the current support structure is a direct result of decades of very carefully managed ambiguity.
That's a great way to put it. This historical relationship is built on a specific, really unique legislative foundation. When the U.S. formally shifted diplomatic recognition from Taipei to Beijing in 1979, Congress immediately passed the Taiwan Relations Act, the TRA.
And that act is the bedrock of the entire relationship.
It is, and the detail in it is critical for you to understand.
So let's focus on the TRA. What did it specifically mandate that allows for this support relationship to exist today?
Well, the TRA essentially established the legal basis for the unofficial relationship we just discussed, the one that works through the AIT. But more critically, it declared that U.S. policy would be to make defense articles and services available to Taiwan.
To enable it to maintain a sufficient self-defense capability.
Exactly. It also stated that the U.S. viewed any effort to determine the future of Taiwan by other than peaceful means as a threat to the peace and security of the Western Pacific.
That sounds like a very carefully crafted legal tightrope. It doesn't promise intervention,
No.
but it creates a legal framework for continuous, structured security support.
Precisely. The structure requires the U.S. to maintain the capacity to resist coercion. This policy is then balanced against the 3 U.S.-China joint communiques, which were signed between 72 and 82.
And those acknowledge Beijing's one China principle position.
Right, so you have these 2 policy streams, the domestic legal mandate of the TRA and the international diplomatic constraints of the communiques, and they create this unique diplomatic paradox that the U.S. operates within.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really shows that U.S. policy toward Taiwan is not a single decision.
Not at all. It's a comprehensive set of legal principles designed to survive different presidential administrations and decades of global change.
And we can't forget the 6 assurances of 1982.
Given by President Reagan, yes. Those clarified that the U.S. would not set a date for ending arms sales, nor would it consult with Beijing before making those decisions. These assurances were absolutely vital for maintaining Taipei's confidence in the continuity of U.S. security cooperation.
So this historical policy architecture, the TRA, the communiques, the 6 assurances, this is what enforces the value of continuity we see today.
Exactly. And continuity here means adhering to the principles that have been in place for nearly 5 decades. That consistency is immensely valuable in international relations.
Why is that so important?
Because when policies remain predictable, it significantly reduces geopolitical uncertainty. This allows all partners, governments, businesses, the defense sector to plan with confidence. Sudden, dramatic policy shifts are destabilizing.
Whereas gradual, policy-guided adjustments are preferred.
Always.
So this historical review is essential because it reveals that the current increased support is not some sudden new posture.
Not at all. It's a scaling of support that was explicitly provided for within the framework of the 1979 Taiwan Relations Act, and it's driven by evolving regional security and economic needs.
It's the original policy architecture just adapting to 2025 realities.
Exactly. And the diplomatic paradox remains. High-level, structured, functional cooperation without formal recognition, all guided by a policy set that values long-term stability and predictability above everything else.
Okay, so we've established that U.S. support is rooted in this historical policy continuity. But our mission is to understand the increase in support by 2025. What has specifically changed in the regional landscape to drive this acceleration?
Well, it's the result of several intertwined long-term trends that are sort of reaching a tipping point.
Okay, what's the first one?
First, we're seeing dramatically evolving regional dynamics. Post-pandemic supply chain restructuring, combined with accelerating tech competition, has made Taiwan's stability absolutely central to U.S. economic resilience planning.
And it's not just the U.S., right?
No, not at all. Countries across Asia, Japan, South Korea, Australia, they are also deepening their own security and economic ties with Taiwan, which, it validates the broader U.S. engagement strategy.
And as those cross-border connections, the digital, technological, financial ones have gotten stronger and more dense, the sheer visibility of Taiwan's essential role in the global system has just surged.
The world simply cannot ignore its central position in reliable tech production anymore.
And that increased visibility leads directly to the second trend, which is this intense global competition in technology and economics.
Right. And this competition isn't purely conflictual. It's more of a strategic effort to maximize innovation, secure key resources, and ensure national economic adaptability. The U.S. focus on partnerships, like those with Taiwan, is designed to ensure stable markets and reliable production capacity.
And a shared adherence to fair trade rules.
Exactly.
Can we point to specific, concrete policy mechanisms that really show this 2025 acceleration, not just general trends?
Absolutely. We see this increase manifested through expanded and formalized dialogue structures. For instance, high-level economic and technological discussions have become more frequent and more structured.
And what about something like the CHEPS and Science Act?
That's a perfect example. That act, passed primarily to stimulate domestic semiconductor manufacturing in the U.S., has simultaneously elevated the status of U.S.-Taiwan collaboration in advanced R&D and supply chain diversification. It's effectively increasing strategic support.
That's a critical distinction. The U.S. is increasing support not just by providing defense articles, but by deeply integrating Taiwan into the U.S.-led effort to manage and diversify the most critical tech supply chains on the planet.
Precisely. And this raises that important question for you, the learner. How do we differentiate this intense integrated support from the kind of steps that lead to conflict?
And the distinction lies entirely in the objective and the language that's used.
Right. Support is manifest through proactive, preventative engagement, joint planning, high-level economic cooperation, educational exchanges, all designed to build resilience and prevent instability.
Whereas conflict is about confrontation, disruption, and aggressive maneuvering.
Yes. When official statements refer to 2025 developments, they use action verbs like institutionalize, expand, strengthen, and encourage. This reinforces that the objective is stability and mutual economic benefit.
So the ultimate driving factor for this intensified support in 2025 is really the hyper-interconnectedness of the modern world.
It is. Economic systems, tech networks, information flows are now so thoroughly integrated that a disruption in one region creates immediate and catastrophic ripples globally.
The world relies on reliable partnerships to manage all this complexity.
And the stability of East Asia is now seen less as a regional security issue and more as a foundational necessity for global economic function. This is why the increased support is viewed strategically. It's an investment in reliable global supply chains.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. This is where the economic necessity of Taiwan goes from a strategic concern to an absolute imperative. If you follow this topic professionally, you know that Taiwan's most critical, irreplaceable global role is in advanced technology manufacturing.
It is the undisputed global leader in producing cutting-edge semiconductors, often called microchips or integrated circuits. But let's get specific about the nature of this dominance.
It's not just any chips.
Not at all. We aren't talking about basic chips. We're talking about the world's most advanced fabrication nodes, specifically 7 nanometer, 5 nanometer, and the bleeding edge 3 nanometer process technologies.
So why do those tiny measurements matter so much?
They are foundational. These advanced nodes dictate the speed and efficiency of the next generation of everything. High-performance computing, artificial intelligence, critical data centers, 5G and 6G infrastructure, and advanced military hardware.
And Taiwan, through companies like TSMC, holds what, something like 90% of the market?
An estimated 90% share of the global market for the most advanced commercially available chips. That is the very definition of a single point of failure for global innovation.
And understanding this phenomenal concentration of manufacturing capability is the key to decoding all the international attention.
Absolutely. Semiconductors are not just valuable products. They are the foundational building blocks for economic competitiveness and national security for every single industrialized nation.
So let's explore the immediate global risk of a disruption there. What would happen?
If production stops, even for just a few months, the cascade effect is immediate. Companies worldwide that need these chips for their final products face insurmountable delays.
So car factories would halt production.
Automobile factories halt, data center expansion freezes, and the rollout of any next-generation infrastructure is instantly compromised.
This defines the contemporary concept of economic security in a very literal way.
It does. Economic security is defined as ensuring essential goods, services, and industrial capabilities remain stable and reliable, especially those underpinning strategic innovation. In 2025, Taiwan's stable, advanced manufacturing output is the absolute centerpiece of global economic security.
So a disruption would trigger a global recession.
Far more severe than any recent financial crisis. Yes.
This also brings up the concept of technology security, which is, in this context, deeply intertwined with something called dual-use technology.
Right. Technology security here refers to protecting the supply, production, and distribution of these essential products. And dual-use technology just means innovations like advanced AI chips that can be used for both civilian applications, like in your smartphone,
And military applications, like in a guidance system.
Exactly. Because Taiwan controls the production of these critical dual-use components, its stability directly impacts the technological capabilities and the national security of countries reliant on this supply, including the United States.
And the industry itself is just characterized by constant aggressive innovation, isn't it?
It is a high-stakes, incredibly fast-moving environment. The competitive edge globally depends entirely on being able to reliably access the next generation of chip technology. The speed at which TSMC and other firms develop new nodes is essentially setting the pace for global technological advancement.
So ensuring Taiwan remains a hub of innovation, protected by stable policies and a secure operating environment, is seen as paramount for maintaining global competitiveness.
Absolutely.
So connecting all the dots. The reliance on Taiwan for these specialized high-tech products reflects this profound, singular dependence of the modern economy.
Right. And the U.S. support is fundamentally a strategy to protect this critical infrastructure, ensuring the stability of a highly specialized ecosystem that benefits every sector worldwide. The discussions are fundamentally pragmatic.
They're focused on trade, resilient manufacturing, and policy coordination.
Exactly. Not confrontation, but guaranteeing the system continues to function.
So if the underlying drivers are technology and continuity, then the ultimate objective of the U.S.'s 2025 posture seems clear: regional stability in East Asia,
That's the goal.
which means creating and maintaining a calm, predictable operational environment where countries can trade, cooperate, and plan with confidence.
And that predictability isn't just a preference here. It's an economic necessity tied directly to that 90% control of advanced chips we talked about.
And that predictability is maintained through sophisticated mechanisms, right?
Yeah.
Starting with partnerships with regional allies.
Yes, the U.S. isn't acting alone. It works very closely with nations like Japan, South Korea, and increasingly the Philippines and Australia, all of whom share a profound interest in maintaining safe and predictable conditions in the Western Pacific.
And these are formal security alliances, but they also function as these broad cooperative networks.
They do. They coordinate on everything from trade agreements and shared maritime awareness to educational and disaster response planning.
So by collaborating on all these different issues, countries create these interlocking networks.
Which reduces the risk of misunderstanding and encourages joint problem solving. The goal is active, visible cooperation strengthening resilience so that one state's action doesn't destabilize the entire region.
And the second essential mechanism is dialogue.
Yeah.
And this isn't just talking.
No, it's structured, open communication to resolve issues before they escalate. And this dialogue happens at multiple levels: official bilateral meetings, informal back-channel discussions, and crucial multilateral forums.
And dialogue is especially vital in Asia because of all the historical, political, and cultural diversity.
It is. It requires leaders to adhere to professional communication protocols using calm and structured diplomatic language. For example, maintaining active cross-strait dialogue communication channels between Beijing and Taipei is consistently viewed as the most critical non-military mechanism for risk reduction.
What's so fascinating here is the crucial role of international norms in maintaining stability. You mentioned this earlier. What exactly are these norms in the context of East Asia?
Well, norms are the agreed-upon standards that guide behavior, even when there isn't a strict treaty. They might include respecting established maritime rules, maintaining freedom of navigation in international waters, adhering to global trade agreements.
And, critically, maintaining open communication channels even when tensions are high.
That's a big one. Adhering to these norms ensures that countries act in a predictable, non-escalatory manner.
And the diplomatic language reflects this focus. We see official discussions actively avoiding emotional or aggressive words.
Right. They use phrases like maintain stability, encourage de-escalation, strengthen cooperation, and support predictability. This language is the primary indicator that the goal is balanced stability, not confrontation.
So stability is a proactive, continuous process.
It is. It is maintained through relentless engagement, consultation, and the reinforcement of existing agreements, joint exercises to build interoperability, new economic agreements to deepen ties, educational exchanges to build trust, and regular high-level consultations.
And all of these forms of support are explicitly designed to reduce uncertainty and solidify the status quo.
That's right.
So the synthesis is clear. The current U.S. engagement is a large-scale, comprehensive strategy. It promotes regional stability through robust dialogue, intensive cooperation with allies, and the consistent enforcement of international norms.
All to create predictable conditions for global technological commerce.
Okay, to provide the balanced educational analysis that you, the learner, require, we have to fully integrate China's perspective. China is an undeniable regional power with massive economic, political, and cultural influence.
And grasping its perspective is essential for critical analysis. This is not about endorsing any specific political position.
It's about understanding.
It's just about understanding. A perspective is simply a country's understanding of the situation, shaped by its unique history and national priorities. And China consistently emphasizes historical context, its inherent right to regional influence, and its core national interests: stability, sovereignty, and regional balance.
When discussed at Taiwan, the guiding principle is the One China principle.
Right. The political notion that there is only one sovereign China and Taiwan is an inalienable part of it.
And that's distinct from the U.S.'s One China policy.
Very distinct. That is its own diplomatic approach. The U.S. acknowledges the One China principle, but it does not endorse Beijing's position on Taiwan's ultimate sovereignty, maintaining its commitment to the TRA.
So this fundamental difference in interpretation sovereignty versus stable commerce means a single event can be seen in multiple ways.
Absolutely. A major U.S.-Taiwan trade agreement, for example. Beijing might interpret it as a political provocation that undermines sovereignty.
While regional allies might see it as just a routine precautionary measure to secure supply chains.
And a professional analysis has to account for all of these interpretations.
We also have to recognize China's deep regional influence, which is manifest through extensive trade partnerships. It's the largest trading partner for many Asian countries.
And it actively shapes economic and political policies throughout the region.
So if we look beyond the immediate players, what does all this increased attention and support mean globally? I mean, what does this mean for markets far removed from East Asia?
The global impact is profound. We come back again to the semiconductor dependency. Any development in Taiwan immediately influences the availability and the price structure of advanced tech components worldwide.
And when we say markets here, we're not just talking about stock markets.
No, not at all. We're referring to the entire systems of investment, trade, and economic activity that stretch from automotive manufacturing in Germany to data processing centers in Brazil.
So when East Asia appears unstable, multinational companies instantly react.
They do. This is why countries far beyond the Pacific, think European Union members, Middle Eastern energy producers, African nations developing digital economies, they monitor the situation intensely.
Because they rely on these international trade routes, and, crucially, they rely on each other for resources, investment, and technology.
It's the ultimate example of interconnected economies. A predictable and cooperative East Asia boosts global economic confidence that trusts that markets and trade systems will operate according to established rules.
And uncertainty, on the other hand, triggers capital flight and halts large-scale investment everywhere.
It does. And finally, you have to ask why massive multinational companies, financial institutions, and international organizations monitor this situation with such fervor.
Their concern is pragmatic.
Completely. Protecting vast business interests, ensuring predictable operations, and maintaining the efficient flow of global trade. Their monitoring reflects the technological interdependence that defines our era, where a chip delay in Taipei can affect a factory floor in Stuttgart or Detroit immediately.
Now, let's bring it all home and focus on application. How can you, the learner, discuss this incredibly complex and sensitive topic with clarity, confidence, and professionalism?
Well, the key is mastering factual language and maintaining an unwavering neutral tone.
Right. And the foundation of that is recognizing the difference between factual and opinion language.
Absolutely. Factual language is objective. It describes observed events or trends. For example, TSMC currently dominates the production of 3-nanometer semiconductor technology globally. That's a fact.
Versus an opinion, which expresses personal beliefs or judgments like, the situation in the Taiwan Strait is highly dangerous.
Exactly. Professional settings demand factual language, leveraging specific data and policies.
And a really powerful technique for demonstrating neutrality is using professional, neutral opening phrases.
Yes. Instead of leading with a bold assertion, you can start sentences with phrases like, "It is widely observed that," or "Recent data compiled by industry analysts shows," or "Policy experts suggest."
Or even just, it is important to note that.
Right. This approach lets you present potentially sensitive information politely and objectively, avoiding any sense of exaggeration or judgment.
And then after that, you have to use precise explanatory connectors to link cause and effect clearly.
Right. Using words like "consequently, therefore, as a result of," or "in order to," for instance. The U.S. increased support as a result of evolving regional dynamics and the centrality of the semiconductor supply chain.
Remember, your tone matters immensely. Maintain a calm, measured, and academic tone throughout the discussion.
Definitely. Avoid emotionally charged, non-specific adjectives like dangerous, threatening, or critical. Those belong in headlines, not in professional dialogue.
Instead, you want to focus on neutral, specific descriptors like geostrategic, significant, relevant, multifaceted, or irreversible.
And finally, the mark of an advanced learner is the ability to acknowledge multiple perspectives politely. This is so crucial for maintaining neutrality.
So you practice using polite framing phrases when you introduce different viewpoints.
Exactly. Something like, "From Beijing's perspective, this policy is viewed as," or, "according to regional priorities, stability is emphasized above all else," or, "some countries prioritize the adherence to international maritime norms."
Ultimately, professional communication on topics this sensitive relies on a foundation of neutral tone, factual language anchored in data like that 90% chip dominance.
Structured explanation and the careful use of policy vocabulary like diplomatic paradox or geostrategic choke point to maintain clarity and avoid misunderstanding.
This is how you shift from simply following the news to genuinely analyzing it.
We have completed a really comprehensive deep dive today. The increased U.S. support for Taiwan in 2025 is clearly not a sudden reaction.
Right, it's the calculated result of long-term structural factors.
The strategic geography of maritime choke points, the irreplaceable role in the advanced semiconductor technology sector, evolving regional security dynamics, and the intense global interdependence that binds every economy to East Asia.
And the primary, sustained goal remains cooperation, stability, and predictable policy management through dialogue and partnerships established decades ago.
Exactly.
And we've armed you with the powerful professional vocabulary you need to navigate this discussion confidently. Geostrategic, regional stability, technological interdependence, supply chain resilience, continuity, diplomatic paradox, the Taiwan Relations Act, and factual language.
You know, the complexity of U.S.-Taiwan relations in 2025 highlights a profound shift in global power dynamics. It underscores not just the importance of physical geography, but the extraordinary dependence of the 21st century global economy, from every smartphone to every advanced missile system, on political and policy continuity in a single, highly specialized area.
The stability of one small geographical economy is now virtually synonymous with the stability of global technological innovation itself.
It is, and this raises an important question. If economic security is now defined by the reliability of specialized high-tech manufacturing, what happens to global governance when the most critical norms aren't about military rules or treaties, but about ensuring consistent manufacturing capacity and stable policy management that spans decades?
Something for you, the learner, to consider as you engage with the news this week and apply this new depth of context. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
We hope you feel more informed and more confident in your ability to follow this complex, crucial global topic.
We'll see you next time.